Hey, Work Bigger, Belma here. Today I want to talk about something that has me really riled up these past couple of weeks. And as you watch, you may get a little bit riled up too. So watch until the end because I'll share a little exercise to help us all move forward from here. All right, so I don't know about you, but I've been following the WeWork news lately, and it hasn't been pretty. If you're not familiar with WeWork, they are a real estate company that provides workspaces for startups and companies. Adam Neumann, the CEO of WeWork, stepped down a few days ago, and essentially what happened is after they were planning to file for IPO, things started to unravel for them because investors started to scrutinize their business model, and they identified just some shady things that the CEO was doing. He's been in the media a lot recently for just potential conflict of interest, such as owning buildings that were used by WeWork and then leasing them back to the company. He also paid himself for the trademark rights to the word "we," and there were just a bunch of other stuff in terms of how he's been spending money. So essentially, what happened is, he stepped down, but still has made hundreds of millions of dollars. And now the company is laying off a whole ton of people, right? And add to that, something that kind of just drives me nuts personally is that, WeWork's slogan is "do work you love." And when Adam Neumann has been asked, what he's really trying to accomplish with WeWork, he says, we want to elevate the world's consciousness. And, obviously his actions don't reflect that, and the company culture doesn't reflect that. And he's used this really positive, life-changing mission to build a brand out of it, but hasn't stood by it. So there's just a lot of inauthenticity behind that, and it personally just drives me nuts. Anyway. So why is this happening? Well, I think partly it's a result of bias. That's one reason. The WeWork board was an all-male board for a really long time. We see how lack of diversity is so harmful. So I'm not going to talk about that today. I'll share an article if you want to learn more about that. I definitely think that's a contribution. What I want to talk about instead is an issue that's actually gender agnostic. And as I get into it, I want to share this is not specific to WeWork. I think this is a larger issue that we're dealing with as individuals, as leaders, and as a society. And I think too often we're seeing companies like Uber and WeWork rise to the top and then they come crashing down, right? But I think this is a symptom of a bigger underlying issue that needs to be addressed way earlier on if we're going to see events like this essentially stop happening or decline. So the symptom that I'm talking about is, we see these ego-driven CEOs or other leaders or bosses or managers who are leading people and they're being quite irresponsible. Their intention behind building businesses are misguided. Their intention behind leadership is misguided. And what is the result of that? Well, layoffs, right? We see people getting laid off all the time, which impacts people's livelihood. Toxic workplaces, this is everywhere. People feeling unseen and unheard at work, people dealing with terrible office politics, people dealing with abuse in the workplace, billions of dollars wasted if we're going to think about it from an economic perspective, right? And this is happening every day. We have leaders who aren't making the New York Times headlines, who also have misguided intentions and add to workplace toxicity. You don't need to be a famous CEO to be contributing to workplace culture in a negative way that way. We have individuals, people from entry level to director, who also have misguided intentions. So I think ultimately, this is because one reason is too many people are working from a place of fear and ego versus impact. We have too many people who are disconnected from a larger mission and vision. And I'm going to talk about what that really means to be connected to a mission, right? And why that's important. The Authentic Leadership Institute, there was this statistic that I found that only 20% of leaders have a mission today. And having a mission is something that guides you in times of difficulty. And I want to talk about why that's beneficial and why that's important and how I see that plays a role in symptoms like this. So it's, why is it really important to have intentions behind your career? How would it help here? right? So first, having a purpose and a mission and being intentional, right? Having an aim in terms of where you're going to go with your career, that is a core human need. It's a spiritual need that we need to feel connected to what we're doing. Okay, when you're connected to a mission, it means that you have, or that you really understand your values, you understand your belief system, and that guides you in times of difficulty. You're connecting to something bigger than yourself. You have a North Star, and when things get really stressful, right, you have an anchor. You have a set of values to lean on. That's why they're important. Even though, you know, companies speak of values, they're not necessarily following them. But it really is something to rely on, that and that guides you when you have to make big, difficult decisions. As you move up in your career, the bigger, the more difficult decisions you have to make, right? So if you don't find a way to manage the stress or to work through the difficult decisions earlier on in your career, the problems are just going to intensify, and that foundation, that crack in the foundation, is just going to get bigger and bigger as you know, as you move up and become a leader. So it is really important to start working on this sooner than later, right? Because we're human, we're imperfect, we make mistakes, and if we're going to do the hard stuff, we need to be grounded. We need to be grounded in that bigger thing. We need to know our values. We need to know our belief system. We need to know how our actions are going to impact other people. And we need to make decisions from a place of service and responsibility versus from a place of being misguided and from a place of ego. And again, this is not just for leaders, this is for everyone. I feel that we should start this work wherever we are with our careers, and the sooner we start, the better we start. The less of these types of symptoms we'll see, you know, workplace toxicity, leaders making irresponsible decisions, causing layoffs of thousands of people, all of that stuff. So here's what I want to talk about now. I want to, you know, to talk about how you can start connecting to your mission in a deeper way today, because I think this is really foundational. And connecting to your mission essentially engages a whole different part of your brain, because what you're doing is you're focusing on the why behind your work, why you're doing what you're doing versus the how, right? And if you've attended any of our free classes, or, you know, if you're a member of Work Bigger, we've talked at length about the difference of the why and the how. The why engages the emotional part of our brain. This is where we get that feeling of connection. This is ultimately what we're looking for as humans. The how engages our prefrontal cortex, which is how we bring our mission to life. What are the strategies that we're going to put into place to execute on our mission? So two different, you know, they engage two different parts of our brain. They're two completely separate questions. So it's really important to start with the why you're doing what you're doing with your career today and what that means for you. So I know this is a big question, but what I would love for you to do is to just start journaling and writing about this right now. And I want you to think things through and then share here in the comments. So first, what's really important to you in your life and work, right? Just what is the change that you want to see in the world today? Like, right, what does that feel like for you? Just spend a few minutes, basically use the comment section as your journal. I'd love to hear the impact that you want to make, even if you don't have a vision of the how. I don't want you to worry about the how for now. Just journal. How do you want the world to be? How do you want it to feel? What do you want to see in the world that currently doesn't exist? Just journal here in the comments below. This is your chance to connect more deeply to your mission and to the work that you want to do, the intention that you want to create behind your career. I would love to hear what comes up for you, and I can give you some feedback. I can give you some thoughts around it. And yeah, that's it for now. Thank you so much for listening to my rant. I'm really looking forward to reading your comments. Next week, we're going to host another free class, 3 Untold Secrets to Making a Successful Career Change. So do RSVP for that. Don't miss it. We're going to talk about this stuff even more. And I hope to see you then, and I look forward to reading your comments. All right, bye.